All right, hey everyone. Welcome to this lesson on comping. I'm going to do an intro to comping as a pianist, comping behind soloists, behind melodies, just comping in general. It's going to be a basic overview of certain textures, kind of what your role is and what you should look out for, right? So comping, you want to add support, right? Comping is about supporting whoever is leading. If the soloist is playing a solo, a saxophone, then you want to support the soloist, right? You don't want to be above the soloist. You should always be complementing the band, the rhythm section, and the soloist. If the bass player is soloing, you don't want to take the spotlight, right? You want to support the bass player, okay? You don't want to do any funny stuff, you know, joke around. I hear so many people kind of just overplay on the solos, you know, and you can't hear anything the soloist is doing, you can't hear anything the bass player is doing. So you really want to be supportive to whoever is the leader, right? You're trying to help them, you're trying to make them sound better, not yourself at that certain moment. When it's your time to solo, you know, and speak, then by all means you can stand up, not literally, figuratively, and just shine, right, and go for it. But when you're comping, that's a very supportive role that you have within the band. And you know, if you're not paying attention to that, you can really disrupt the ebb and flow of the whole rhythm section and the soloist when he's playing a solo. So let's go over a couple textures. I'm just going to use the blues as an example. Now, when we're comping, we want to lay down a nice palette, right? We want to think about just like a nice, you know, foundation for people to walk over, right? We don't want it to be bumpy. We don't want it to be uneasy, right? I just picture this person, you know, walking along. It's just nice and smooth, like a freshly paved road. You know how nice it is to drive on those? That's how the soloist should feel when they're playing a solo, okay? That's a great analogy. I just made that up. I'm gonna have to use that with my students. But let's go to the blues. I'm gonna try and really just take my time with comping through this blues. Maybe I'll go through twice and just try and listen to, you know, I'm not gonna do much at all. And that's how it should how it should be. If you feel yourself doing way too much, then you're probably interfering with what the other components are going on. But let's go to the piano, I'll check it out, I'll take a chorus with the track, okay? Here we go. All right, so this is gonna be a blues. I'm gonna start this tempo at 110. It's gonna be kind of a slow blues, you know, medium. And I'm gonna comp through this right now. Let me take another one, just getting into it. So I did some things well, I didn't do some things too well, but basically I was just trying to keep it simple, right, and groove. That's all you want to do. You just laying down a nice palette, a nice groove. That way the solo can have freedom, you know? We all want the freedom to express ourselves, and when someone's interfering with that, it's just like, you just want to be like, stop doing what you're doing. Why are you doing that? You know, it's my turn. You know, I want to express myself. Same thing, if I'm playing a solo, and the bass player or the drummer, especially, the drummer's playing all this crap, you know, just hitting, you know, it's just like, why? Why are you doing that? Don't do that. That's not what I want to do. It's my turn to solo. You know, when it's your turn to solo, absolutely, but we want to complement. We want to help the soloist feel comfortable, right? We don't want to stand out. We just want to listen to the bass player, the drummer, and the soloist, and whoever's soloing, and try and be as supportive as possible for their ideas that they're expressing at that moment, okay? So it takes a lot of discipline, all right? So a couple textures, I'll talk to you about some of the couple of textures that I was using. I was definitely in the low end to start off with, right? I kind of shifted up to the higher end, but this low end is a great texture to use. I love using the low end of the piano. It's just such a thick sound, and I was playing bass notes down here with my left hand. That's completely okay. I mean, your bass notes are just going to complement your harmonies. Even though the bass player is playing his own bass notes, it won't get in the way, I promise you. It's going to create a nice thick texture. Let me go through a chorus just playing those low textures for you. In my right hand, I know you guys are like, oh, what is he playing? Or some of you, maybe some of you are like, oh, I know that already. But don't worry about the voicings or things just yet. I want you to really be able to take away these textures and use them immediately. You can use whatever voicings you want. Right now, I'll just use root position chords and I'll voice lead into my 7th chords. Okay, and I'll use those low end textures. Here we go. Sorry. All right, so I kind of screwed up at the end there. I was trying to just use the root position chords and voice lead them, but that's kind of an example of the low end textures you can use, right? So those low ends really, this end right here on the piano really creates a nice thick, you know, just solid. It's solid. It's a solid palette for your soloist and the rhythm section to dig into, right? Some of the middle register voicings are going to cut through a little bit more and give you a different type of texture, but you can always start down there just to really create a nice swinging groove, okay? Let's go to the middle register of the piano, and I'll comp through a solo in that middle register and see the difference between the two, okay? So I'm going to be comping in the middle register of the piano. Out. All right. So slightly different texture there, still works very well, but your colors and your tones are gonna stick out, right? You're gonna be able to use those colors a lot more effectively. If we add colors in the low end, it's just gonna sound muddy. So we really have a nice opportunity to you know, spice up, flavor up any of the soloist's ideas. If he goes to a flat 9, I landed on that flat 9 sharp 11 chord there at the end. If he plays something like that, I would land on that, right? And it would really support him. So that middle register is a great texture, and definitely kind of you can stay in that middle area there and get a really nice sound. Let's go to the high end of the piano and I'll do the same thing in the higher register and kind of show you some ideas. Here we go. So I'll use the high register and comp through. Now this is a sound you hear a lot, like the octave on top with your voicings in your left hand. All right, so I was using that high end of the piano to really cut through, right? That's a sound you hear a lot on jazz albums or like the cocktail lounges in movies. You hear that high octave sound, the comping, and my left hand was using just voicing. So that's a great sound you can use. Again, just be careful because that high end will really cut through. If the soloist is building, you can go up there, you know, to really add energy. And you know, you can switch back and forth as well, but you have freedom to create melodic lines with that octave too, which sounds really nice, just going up and down the blues scale if you want. And I was combining my rhythmic feel, you know, putting it in sync with my left hand. So if my right hand went bo-do-da, my left hand would do the exact same thing, da-da-da, on the same chord, okay? So you have so many different ways that you can comp, right? You can use the low end, the middle register, the high register. Some of the other things I was doing just quickly were double-handed lines, bo-do-da, so playing the same notes, right, in each hand, just like that, right? And then you go to the chord, right? So, okay, right? So it's kind of like a nice call and response thing you can do with your double-handed lines back and forth. But there's so many textures. So just to conclude this, intro, you're comping, right? You just want to provide support. You want to get creative. You want to have fun with it as well, right? You're basically creating a solo out of your chords and harmonies, okay? That's going to complement the soloist or whoever's soloing at that time, or maybe it's the melody. So use these textures, use the whole piano to comp with, have fun, really just spice up your comping. Try not to just sit there, like a player piano and kind of just play chords, because that's not fun. Use the high register, use the low register, go back and forth, really get creative. Okay, guys? So thanks so much for watching. Please, I would really appreciate it if you could like the Facebook page, jazzpianoschool.com. There's a little like box outside the video. It just takes one simple click. If you enjoyed watching this, there's going to be a lot more content, right? I would encourage you to share for your friends, any musicians that you know of. You can share the page. I'm trying to reach as many people as possible, so I need your help in trying to spread this content around completely free, okay? And if you want these tips sent directly to your inbox, now listen up. I'm going to be sending just whole loads of information, not going to be on the website, okay? That information is not going to be, it's just going to be available to the people on the list, all right? And because I want to reward them for signing up for the email list and getting these news, getting these free lessons, this updates. So I'm going to provide much more content, transcriptions, notated music in the list for the people signed up for the list, okay? You don't have to do anything, just simply subscribe. You can subscribe on this page or the home page, wherever you see that subscription box. And I'm not going to spam you guys. It's just going to be a weekly tip, and you can literally use those tips right when you see them. Some of them are going to be a little bit more advanced, but you can take these ideas and these concepts that I'm sending you and apply them to maybe a gig you have that night, or a session or a performance, and really start to develop your playing and progress it. All right? So guys, thanks so much for watching. I appreciate your time, and happy practicing.